Right, so let's get started with shading. Make a new layer by clicking this icon down here. Right click on the layer, go to layer properties. I'm going to pick violet since it makes sense. Maybe I can even pick red for this one and then violet for the deep shadows. That would make more sense actually. And I'll call this shading, not shadow. Okay, so there's a couple things we need to understand before we get started shading. And I know it's like, oh, but that seems to take so long. And by the way, this is Neil from ipaintgirls.com, where you can go and find more free tutorials. The link is in the description. So you have to think about the body's like basic shapes, and the hardest part really to think about is the face. Everything else is a lot simpler. But anyway, these are the shapes you want to think about while shading. Is the arms are built of two cylinders and a sphere. So a sphere for the shoulder, cylinder, cylinder, right? The boobs are cylinders, butts are cylinders, or the butt, the butt cheeks are cylinders. You have not cylinders, excuse me, spheres. The boobs and butt are spheres. The legs are cylinders. Torso is two cylinders. And then the face and neck is a cylinder. The face is the hardest, and I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about that for just a second before we get started shading. And that makes the whole video process go slower. But hey, when you read drawing books, you're actually supposed to read them, and that's how you get better. That's how you actually learn. All that writing in the book is important, and so all this talking is important. So imagine this shape here, and this is usually shaded in, right? It's like a cut-in Pac-Man shape. This is usually shaded on that side and that side a little bit, and it receives light, here, the main spot, depending where your light's coming from. The nose is a separate piece. You can kind of imagine it. I have a nose tutorial that shows the shapes of that. But basically, you have like this shape here that would receive, the light, and then you have that shape there that would kind of recede back, in the Pac-Man shape there. Then you have, the two little parts. Anyway, who cares about the nose? I have the nose tutorial for that. Imagine this shape coming down like this. This receives light. These parts usually receive shade, right? So that's the basic shapes you want to pay attention to when shading the face. And all this is important to understand. It makes the shading process that much easier, because part of the shading process of achieving realism is knowing how the light's going to hit the figure and how it's going to change the shading. So imagine the light. I'm going to imagine it coming from like this direction. So I might even take the sun out of the picture if it looks too weird by how I end up doing my lighting. Alright, so let's get started. We'll go to select color range, and I'm going to select her color range there. Make sure I'm on my shading layer. I'm going to hit Control H on the keyboard to hide the lines, but they're still actually there. The mask is still there. I'm going to choose my pen brush. Again, my pen brush is a brush that has only the size set to pen pressure. I have the wrong color there. This is the color I'm going to be using, so if you wanted to pause the video and grab that color, hitting F12 on your keyboard or hitting print screen next to F12 on your keyboard, then paste it into your system and use the eyedropper tool. So notice I can't go outside the lines. So this makes, shading, this is why you do the base coat, the base layer. It just makes all this process here much easier. I know all that's going to be in shade. I'm going to have a little bit of shade from that line like that. And notice I'm starting with my pen brush first, so I'm doing these hard lines. Might even end up doing some dark shading there, but I'll worry about that after I kind of do this. And so like I said, it's shading is striking a balance between hard lines and soft lines. If I make a mistake and I go outside the lines, I can then use my eraser and erase. Don't pick up the color and color over it though. Make sure you use the eraser. I know all this right here is going to receive some shadow, and I'll probably end up putting some darker stuff in there as well. And then I'm thinking all this down here obviously would be shaded like so. Okay, then you want to use like your blurring tool or smudge tool if you're good with that one. And I'm going to have it at 100%. I'm going to use a soft brush, and I just want to smooth out, blur out some edges, because again you want to strike a mixture between soft and hard edges. You don't want all soft edges, and you definitely don't want all hard edges, but a kind of a blend between them. And knowing the blend between them really just is going to take personal artistic, understanding and stuff, and you'll figure it out for your own. And then if you wanted to, you can also use like the smudge tool, and I'm going to have my main workhorse brush for that. You can kind of just pull some of the color around if you wanted to. Notice you can, oops, I don't know what just happened there. Let me go back. Okay, you gotta be careful when you're pulling. See, it's too big. I gotta just pull the edge right there. And notice when I just pull the edge, when I just pull some of the edges, maybe even a smaller brush, I'm just trying to pull the edges here, nothing else, and it kind of smooths out. And you can kind of go like that, kind of smooth it out like that, and push it and shape it if you wanted to. So it's good to shape and stuff if you wanted to shape your things, but I don't need to shape that. Right, then finally we can grab our eraser tool and use a soft brush, turn it down to the size we need. I'm going to leave it 100%, and I'm just going to lightly pull some of the color away, make it a little bit bigger, like so. And the reason why I'm even shading that part of the breast is because I'm going to use soft brush this, because I want this one to be soft. The reason why I'm shading the breast in this fashion is I want him to kind of, I'm thinking about two spheres. I kind of want him to have that shape. I want to bring that shape out. Now another trick we can do is use our gradient tool. Up here, choose the second one, which is the default, which is just one color, the foreground color. And then make sure you have it set to round and not set to linear. So this icon here, the round one. Now I could, remember the mask is still on there. If I hit Control H, you can see it. So now I can, kind of push this in parts where I know I want some shading to be. And actually, before I do that, really quick, I need to go back down to this layer, and this will just take a second. I need to, I actually locked it because I didn't want to mess it up, but I need to do this really quick because I forgot to do it before. And just need to paint in the hair. I'll go ahead and push pause. Alright, so I got that done. I'm going to go back up here, get my selection back by going to Select, Color Range, grab the skin tone, hit Control H to disappear that, and then working on my shading layer. Get this gradient tool back. I'm going to just kind of push it. Oh wait, wrong color. Gotta get my other color back here. And the reason why I'm doing this is I'm thinking about the way I'm going to shade the face. I think about the shading first. After I have the shading done, then I go in and think about how I will do. Hold on a second. Right. Anyway, make sure you have this this layer turned off, and then go to Select and Color Range when you have to reselect it again when you select your colors. The reason why is because if not, it'll actually pick up some of this here, and that's what was wrong before when I was just trying to do this part here, because that part wasn't selected. And I can go ahead and Control H to disappear that. So the reason why I'm shading all this side of the face dark first is because I'm then going to add some light back on this side, because there's going to be an extra light over here, but both from the gun flash and just another light source, maybe from some, I don't know, helicopter. It doesn't really matter. There's another light source, and it's going to be hitting this part of her face because I want to have a certain shape to the face, and so I want the lighting like that. And so this part of the plane is going to be really lit up. Even this part of the face will be lit up and stuff. But still, because the light's going to be coming down from the top, this part of the plane, since it recedes away from the light, will still be in shadow. And I'm going to use a soft brush to do that. Kind of keep it small. That way it's not too blurry. Most of the ear will be in shadow. And notice I'm keeping that plane that I talked about there. And I'm going to use a bigger brush just to kind of fill some of that in. Go back to the gradient tool, and I'm going to kind of start shading in part of the arm here. So I want this side to kind of have a lot of that color, but I want it to fade. And this is how you can get that shell shaded look, is having sharp lines in some places, and then these like faded parts in other places, and then you add a really cool look that way. I'm going to use my eraser tool, kind of big, and I'm going to kind of erase part there and there. Then that way when I come back in and add some light, it'll be cool. And then I'm going to add shading right around the eye with a soft brush because I know that I'm going to have a lot of shadowing. And working this way is much easier if you just shade in the eyes right now, a little bit of shade like that for the for that Pac-Man thing for the nose as well. And then when you go in and start erasing and to add some of the light back, and then finally when we add the highlights, it'll really look cool. So that's the basic procedure you kind of follow for getting the first part of your shading done. And then we'll go in and erase some of the things, and then we'll add lighting on a new layer. And the lighting is going to be really cool. We'll start with we'll use two lighting layers, the dodge layer, and then another regular layer. Right, so I try to go as fast as possible, but anyway, hopefully I'm going fast enough and not too slow. But I need to explain a lot of things. Thank you, rate and comment, appreciate it.